Hello everyone, welcome back to the Plunder Den. In this week's episode, we're going to cover some simple ways you can enhance your terrain. So I kind of actually came up with this project while I was getting ready for the big Plunder Day in Sentry Box down in Calgary, Alberta. So August 3rd, we're going to be down there doing some, some scenario play, Blood and Plunder, some sea battles, the treasure ship scenario. And also doing another, land-based one. I wanted to do that island and kind of do a jungle scenario. There'll be a demo table and all sorts of other stuff going on down there at the same time. And I wanted to add on to my jungle terrain. And I just didn't want to I was originally going to just slap some trees onto some bases. And I said, you know what, this would be a good topic for an episode. I like to do just more than just some trees. And so you can play through that piece of terrain and add some elements to it to add some interest to it. And enhance it. So make it a little bit more than just a piece of jungle terrain. So I actually made 4 different pieces here. We're going to cover them. And just the best thing to do is just take a look at it, right? So this is our first piece. And you can see that, I've kind of added some spikes, like maybe this was an old fort, and there's the jungle's kind of growing through it, kind of have this murky water going through the center of it. And that's kind of a common theme that I have through all these pieces. So I've kind of have a little bit of a water element to it, on top of all the different types of foliage that I put on here. And then, of course, we've got some elements that look like there's some kind of structure there at one point. Well, maybe I'll just tip it upside down. You can see it that way. All right, so that's the first piece. And the second piece, I kind of wanted to have an elongated piece. Same thing, I went with that kind of water feature in the center. I kind of made it a little bit flatter so you can stand your miniatures on these little platforms on here and play through the terrain here. And you can see I've added kind of like, these are more jewelry elements, again, from Michael's. My favorite place to kind of get stuff like that is, it gets kind of a Aztec feel to it. Maybe there's some ancient ruins in here. And it kind of goes with the other pieces of jungle terrain that I have. These kind of elements add to it. So then I kind of like, well, maybe I'll make one little small one, but I still added, a little bit extra to it. And it enhanced this piece, so it's not just a couple of trees. We got some rocks elements in there. There's some ruins in there. There's just a kind of an more interesting piece. And then right here, this one's probably my favorite. It's kind of it could have been a structure of some sort, but looks like there was a platform. I have a destroyed cannon, part of a cannon there. So we got some raised platforms. It's kind of like a palisade fort, which you could use it for. And it's also like a jungle piece of terrain. So I really went crazy on this one and added lots of different elements to it. Again, having that same water theme through it and really creating something unique. All right, so that's what we're going to cover in this episode. If you guys like what we do in the Plunder Den, make sure you smash that like button and consider subscribing to the Plunder Den and get first-hand information when I start these kind of projects. All right, let's get down to the table and let's start painting and let's start crafting. Okay, so let's start off a little different. We got all our supplies here, but I've kind of prepped them already. So we have our, this is insulation foam that I've rattled in my coffee tin and made them look like stones. And I got some balsa wood here that I've broken up. This is some of that willow fencing. You can see I've already cut it. These are the 4 bases that I want to make. This is dollar store foam board. I use black craft paint on both sides to stop the warping. And we got balsa wood. We got dowels here, just kind of random stuff. Some Blood and Plunder. There's a bit of a cannon there and some jewelry from Michael's. So I started off by just taking those rocks. And if you've seen my rock formation videos where I did the stone scatter terrain, This is a similar process. So I kind of did it to the left and right and kind of left the center kind of open on all of them. And I took my dowels and I decided maybe I kind of wanted some fortification. So really I made all those pieces and really didn't have a plan. Just wanted to add those elements. So you can see I carved the ends of those dowels to make them look like spikes. So then I decided to use these willow fencing and maybe make somewhat of a palisade fort or what's left of a fort or maybe some structure. So I just started gluing them on. I knew I wanted to add this cannon element. So I got my snippers there. I kind of cut the corner off, as well as one of the wheels I cut in half, just so it kind of leaned to the side. It looked like decrepit, whatever is left over the carriage of a cannon. So then I'm just pointing out that I want to put all those spikes and kind of make a spiked wall on one of the other ones. So then I just grabbed some of the balsa wood. I'm just kind of showing you a progress. I just glued the willow fencing, and I kind of made slits like this was a fort, and those are cannon ports, or maybe where you can shoot through. This side's a little more destroyed on the other side. Just kind of just really random putting it on there. Like I said, there wasn't no real plan here. It was just kind of organic as I was just going through the pieces, just kind of gluing it on. And I knew I wanted to have some kind of wooden floor there. So just to add more to it, like there used to be a fort or some building or some structure. So I I added my dowels here. You can see that I just want to make a note that I did add texture to those dowels. I just carved it with my hobby knife to make them look regular. You could do it with willow fencing, but it's a little harder to make a spike on the end of them. So I decided to go with dowels when it comes to those spikes. So I'm just kind of showing you a progress report. I kind of had some spikes on this one too, but they're like kind of broken and they're falling over. And it kind of made it like a fence element to it. And then here I decided to make this more of ancient ruins, the native ancient ruins here. So I decided to add some of these like Aztec symbols. I don't know if they're Aztec symbols. They're from Michael's. They're jewelry. They look like Aztec. And that's kind of what I was just going for. They're easy enough. I just used some super glue and glued them on there. Same with that cannon. I super glued it on there too. Most of everything out here is done with white glue, but I did some of the metal pieces. I super glued them on. Used some Gorilla Glue. So here, let's take a look through the elements. You can see I've got some broken up. It looks like a busted up fence on the front, maybe a gateway. Again, just adding more elements as I see, kind of balancing both sides too. You can see all the pieces are kind of balanced, except for the smaller one. It's all just kind of in the small. I wanted to make one small tree. So when I went to this really cheap gravel that you can get at the dollar store, a couple of bucks, just huge container of it. And I don't really like the color of it, but I do like the texture of it. So instead of doing drywall compound this time, and it's a little harder to do it, I was on a time constraint. I was trying to get this ready for the day in Sentry Box. So I figured I'll just go with some gravel. So I put this gravel down. I just put it on white glue. So I put the white glue on pretty generously. And I made sure to tap it as many times as I can to make sure there was no stones that were going to fall out. I am going to cover it with black paint and Mod Podge, so it's going to stick there real good. So this is after I let it dry. Actually, I left it to dry overnight. I came back to it, and this is solid. It's like sandpaper now. That gravel stuck to it really well to this dollar store foam board. Now, the trees I've done on the Pirate Warning Island, I've shown you how I doctored them up. These are all just trees I got from Amazon and Michael's. But really what the key here is to paint them all. So they hide the way they look, the plastic look. And I used a lot of the same colors that I used for everything else. So it looks like it's part of the same world. Hot glue gun, I glue those on with a hot glue gun. And usually I do it at this stage right now because the foam is still, you can glue into it. After you paint it, the foam gets hard with that Mod Podge and paint on it. So I want to put the tree elements in there right now. So I kind of hot glued it and it kind of melts into the foam. So then you got a nice good bond in there. So it's just an important step, not to do that afterwards. It's a little harder to glue them in afterwards after you've decorated or painted your bases. So kind of got all my elements in here, everything that I want to put in there. And then I'm going to go into a Mod Podge and black paint. And really, I just do half and half. Half Mod Podge, half black paint. And usually I'm not one for using Mod Podge, but in this case, I think it would come in handy. Keep that gravel in place. Keep everything nice and sturdy. These are going to be used for gameplay, so I just want to make sure that they're in really good shape. So there's a lot of foam elements in there, in that Mod Podge will help. All right, so we got the real brown, and we're just going to cover a little bit of the painting element. Just showing you the techniques. These are the same colors I use on all my terrain. Just note, these are the same colors I used on the bark of the trees. The top of the leaves, again, just go to that Pirate Warning Island video, and you'll see I'd spend more time covering how I painted those. I just didn't want to trek over some ground that I've already done. All right, so you can see I've kind of got a bigger brush, and we're just going to brush that on and cover these entire pieces. So I kind of, that in the middle, you can see I didn't put any gravel in there. I kind of decided I was going to do, as I was going, more of a like a water feature. Originally, I was just going to make it like a worn out path or something like that was beaten down. But I thought, it'd be really cool if it was kind of like some murky water that was in the jungle, right? So then I kind of just, you can see I added a little bit of brown in there, and I'm going to add some of the bark brown. This is the next color. This is a lighter brown. Again, one of the ones I always use. And you can see I'm just lightly touching everything. And you can see I've I did cover the bottom of the trees with black paint. It was a little harder to get around it, but still you need to glue those trees on first. But I'm just showing you how I just tap it on really lightly with this big brush. And I put less and less paint on the brush as the brighter the colors go. But I just wanted to kind of show off some of the elements. Now I'm going to add that bark brown to that Riverway too. Just lighten that up a little bit. I probably won't add the Pablo when we get to it, but I'll just use these two browns in there. And we'll add some greens on there and make it look like murky water. So really it's just light tapping on here. Not really anything heavy. So this is after I've added the bark brown. Everything is pretty much ready to go. And we're going to add this next color, which is the Pablo, which is a brighter orange. And I like to add, again, those earth tones and highlight it. So we're going to go back to adding that Pablo. But I think I'm going to leave it off from certain areas and this time around. And like I said, there's even less of that on the brush. I really don't want this to get too crazy. You can actually use too much of this Pablo, and then you have to go back and, really how you fix it is just go back to the original brown you put on there, cover it up, then go to the bark brown again, and just kind of because you're doing layers, right? All my painting is layers, just build up layers on top of each other. So you'll just have to go back 2 steps and paint over it again. It's time consuming, but whatever, if you get it right the first time. So that's why I said just don't add too much to it. You want a little bit of highlights, but nothing crazy. I know it looks like I'm not getting much on, but I kind of go over it a few times, and you'll see in a minute when we progress to the completed stage how much brighter this gets. So you can see I didn't go wild on it, but I did add, I actually probably added that longer one a little bit too much, but you can see there's a nice highlight to everything, which will make it really good when we start adding the, the camel and some of the other colors to the stonework. So the camel is going to be added to the gravel that's on the ground, and I went to a smaller brush. This is a smaller flat brush. And really, this is a more time-consuming element of it. But you don't want to go crazy with that camel and cover the stones. You want to have all those nice colors that we added underneath. So really just going to put a little bit on our little brush here. Again, this will take a little bit longer because you have to get around all these pieces and hit all these areas. I'm also going to hit the bottom of the stems of the tree because I have to repaint what I've covered up there. I had spilled some of the black paint up on there, so we're going to fix that. The ends of the spikes and stuff to make it look like it's freshly cut wood. Just elements like that. So around the whole piece, the stones, not as much of the woodwork. We're going to go with a different color with the wood. But all these stone elements. All right, so you can see I've done the gravel, and it did take some time. That took at least half an hour, 45 minutes to actually paint all these with that little brush. But I got the right amount of color in there, and I don't want to, like I said, do too crazy with the light color. All right, so now we got all that done. Moving on to the real brown, and this is yellow ochre, and you've seen me do this on my decks of my ships and docks. I mix those two colors together, so kind of like a half and half split again, and you get kind of like a darker yellow. So I go back to my little brush again, and I'm going to hit some of the stones as well as the woodwork. So you can see I'm even lighter on the stonework, on the gravel there. But we're not going to go on the actual stones. We're just going to go on that gravel we added to make it look more like a sand, I would say. So we're going to add a little bit more yellow to it. And then we're going to hit these planks. So again, this is a little more time consuming, but there's not as much elements on here. There's some wood, and then we're going to hit here in a few different areas. I'm probably going to add a little bit to those, those little jewelry pieces. You can see I added some yellow. So this is after I've done all that. You can see where the areas I've hit, the sanded areas, some of the elements that I've glued on. So now we're going to go to some of the washes. We got Serpent, Serpia, a Skeleton, Horde here, some speed paints, hardened leather, dark wood, and we got Gravelord Gray. These are I do a combination of these now with speed paints and contrast paints and washes, and just kind of add in elements in here. So some of this will be on the wood, some of it will be just to darken around certain stones and add some grunge to these pieces. They're a little too bright right now, so we're gonna lessen that. So now you can see that we've added those colors into it, and it seems a little more dingy, and that's what I was looking for. A little more dingy color. It was a little too bright. We can tone it down with all those washes and speed paints. So just taking a look around at all the finished pieces, just to get an idea. So now we're going to address this water. So I'm going to use this Malignant Green, which I absolutely love, that speed paint. Commando Green. We're going to put that Commando Green down first. And an Agrax shader, of course. I'm going to hit everything afterwards. And then I'm going to add that Malignant Green over top of it. And it's really going to add like a murky water look to it. And then the Agrax shader, I'm just kind of pointing at a little bit of everywhere always helps. Some gunmetal. We got some golden armor. And we got some mummy robe, which we're going to lighten the stones up with. So mummy robe for the stones. The two metallics is really just for the cannon and some of those Aztec symbols kind of elements that I have in those ruins. So we're just going to touch a few metallics on there just to imply that there's some metals and some precious metals there. All right, so now you can see that those two greens together. So that's Commando Green down first, and then that Malignant Green down over top of it, and it got really kind of a nice greeny sludge going on there, like it's in the jungle, and we got some dirty water going on through there. Really like that element. So I add this gloss varnish because that speed paint does dry flat. So to make it look shiny like water, I added that gloss finish over top, just to make a note of that. So then I have assorted foliage. So I like these little palm leaves from Gamer's Grass there. And then we got some elements from Huge Miniatures. We got some all sorts of different stuff that I actually picked up at Adepticon. I'm still using that stuff that I bought at Adepticon. I can't wait to go to this year's, it's not this year, it's in next year in Milwaukee. I'll be in that next Adepticon, and maybe I'll pick up some fresh stuff. I'll definitely be looking for terrain elements. So there's my dollar store moss, which I actually use for all the perimeters on all these pieces. Really cheap way to add some foliage to it right away before you start getting to some of the more of those expensive elements. So you can see that I've got that dollar store foliage around it, and you can see all the different elements together. So you got your foliage, you got your stones, you got all your little ruins in there. We got some fortifications kind of symbols. I actually added some more of my scatter in there just so you can see what it looks like all together. I really like these pieces. And I've done that before, but I've never actually done it on the channel. I've previously made jungle terrain where I've added elements in it, but I've never actually built them on the channel. So I wanted to do a quick episode covering that, since I was building them anyways for the Plunder Day in the Sentry Box, that I want to get that done. All right, so that's pretty much it for this episode. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope to see some of you, some of the community members down at Sentry Box for that Plunder Day. I am going to give one of these terrain pieces away as one of the prizes. So there's a few prizes I'm going to be giving away, but I'm definitely going to be giving some terrain elements away. So my next episode should be around my day at Sentry Box, and look forward to sharing that with you guys as well. All right, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.